Low key.
Testing. It's the Willy Show. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, we got bangers.
I dig it.
So, hello and welcome back to the Willy Show. The same intro as always. I'm sitting here with Leeroy, who's going to be part of my 11th episode. We're just going to go by Leeroy today, just because Leeroy's had a pretty hard pass, pretty hard run. You reached out to me through Instagram about doing this, but you've been probably one of my most loyal followers of these streams.
I do try.
Yeah, everyone, like ever since, like I didn't even have my own podcast. It was like just
I think it
me
was
talking shit.
one of the last YouTube Q&As.
Yeah.
That I was that's where it really piqued my interest.
You really
I was following
jumped
in Instagram for ages, but
yeah,
it
but
was the Q&A that did it.
it was like the last one I did.
Yeah.
Fuck, because I know you've been on a lot more than that. Like heaps
More so on Twitch.
more so on Twitch, yeah.
Was it the Tinder wheel?
Oh, the Tinder wheel, Jesus. For anyone who doesn't know, we get a bit rowdy on Twitch occasionally. Once we hit like 3 hours,
That was gold.
it's gone to shit. So
you could see at that point
it was
just batshit crazy.
I was fucked. Like I was sitting here all tired and shit.
Well, they said to you, like when I'd get around to streaming it, it's usually for about 2 hours, and then I know full well because I forget that the stream's going and start singing and shit and yelling. Oh, turn Paw Patrol off.
Yeah, oh bro. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, we had there were some people on it like trying to pick up on the stream. Like there were like some girls and guys trying to like sort of chat up and like, oh, this is my Snapchat me, blah blah blah. And then we ended up getting like one of those like Wheel of Fortunes on and being like, righto, like I don't know, like let's just say Sarah, like who's taking Sarah out on a date, and like spin it, put everyone's name, it even had like companies' names in it. Like everyone, people like, I'm married, I can't be on it. I'm like, you fucking on it.
I'm trying to think who it was because I know I was pissing myself laughing when I ended up. My name came out of it.
I know who it was. The girl's name was Katie. Oh, it was Katie and Haley were the two girls. Yeah, I remember that.
Because I've seen Haley in the stream ever since.
Yeah, Haley streams these every single time.
And I was going to say, it'd only be a matter of minutes and it should be in there. So.
Yeah, but I've actually got the chat open thinking there's going to be like, wait, fuck you guys, stop talking about me.
I just laugh though. That right there was an indication we're onto a good thing here.
We're onto a good thing. We're streaming bullshit.
How many podcasts have we lived Tinder?
Fuck it, we can do that. The Wheel of Tinder. Everyone knows my past. If you've seen The Project or the fucking Taboo, that TV show, like instantly everyone, like I had a few people message me like, bro, that was the real Willy you saw. Like a lot of the shit on Instagram is a bit toned down. I'm like, we're so glad. Like you were so serious on
the
that.
single greatest moment in TV history right there. When the first time I saw that promo run,
yeah,
and you were talking about the Tinder thing. Because I remember I was eating dinner when I saw it. I nearly fucking choked.
I've had a heap of dudes be like, that is one of the funniest things ever. They're like, we were pissing ourselves. Like, I'm glad I can give some comedic value, not just me normally shit talking.
That's what it was about, isn't it?
Oh, fuck. So this podcast is a bit more than just shit talking. So Leeroy's had a pretty rough run, but you've come out the other side really well. I think
colourful.
Yeah, we'll go with colourful.
That's how I've termed it over the years. I had a colourful history. Colourful history.
So for those who aren't watching, and you might not even be able to tell watching, but I'm a midget compared to Leeroy. I'm like 5 foot nothing.
I'm actually slouched down in the chair.
You're slouched down
properly.
Yeah, and you're 7 foot flat. I only just found that out. That is insane. Yeah. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, Jesus! Like
the dark ominous shadow walk across the window.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm getting mugged. I'm not gonna try here. I'm stuffed.
Nah, you'll be right.
Oh, fucking oath. So we'll sort of go over. You're sort of growing up. I know we went over this a bit earlier off here. And we'll sort of go, we will go dark. We'll go as dark as you want.
Start at the start.
Let's start right at the start. Okay. So if you want to take us off.
So, where I sort of see as a lot of the issues started from was I had a dad that worked away.
Yeah.
So he worked on the trains. He was gone for the better part of the time. So mum had worked 2 jobs. Mm. And when he was home, he was possibly the crankiest fucker you've ever come across. So, he'd always be trying to sleep or do whatever. If we woke him up, he'd fucking lose it. And we'd cop it. Me and my little brother, we'd cop it. I've got an older sister as well. He was just an angry, violent man. Point blank.
Like physically violent?
Yeah. Like, that you hear that old like country old man's saying of like, "Oh, bang your heads together."
Yeah,
he would
literally,
like quite literally. Like, it wasn't fun, but mum being mum had that caring sort of instinct And so we grew up in a household where, I mean, I think at one point there was like eight or nine kids in the house. They were all like respite care, emergency care, adopted, foster kids, all that sort of thing. So like the house was fucking chaos at the best of times. And where this sort of took the turn was that one of the older kids that was staying there, and I can't remember what the deal was, turned out to be for want of a better term, kiddie fiddler.
And how old are we talking? Like, how old are you?
So I think at that time I would have been like 9, 10. I was still like grade 5, whatever that is.
Yeah,
that's
9 or 10.
Yeah, somewhere around that mark. And I'm not gonna lie, man, that feels bulk weird saying that.
Yeah.
Like out loud in public, sort of thing. So
it's good though. It's good to get it off.
Yeah, for sure, especially after a couple of years. But so I caught the brunt of his attention, and so did one of the other kids that was living with us at the time. So like I said, like that was a fairly interesting start, sort of between angry dad and touchy uncle, sort of thing. Like that's always been my method of dealing with it, is just laughing about it, sort of thing. But my older sister copped it from him as well, and I think that was a little bit of a reason, maybe a bit of a motivator. Why, like, she went off the deep end real quick, combined with bad crowd.
Yeah.
So she was into drugs. I couldn't even tell you, like pretty early on. So let's just say, like, I had pretty easy overexposure to that, like really early on.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So coming forward in time of 13, 14, 15 in that mark, like getting access to drugs was no big deal, sort of thing. And big family fallout, and I was sort of out of home early. And where do you go? You go to your sister's place. And your sister's smoking copious amounts of weed and injecting drugs, and so what do? You smoke weed, and that was always my golden rule. Was I was okay with it as long as you weren't injecting it, sort of thing. So she hid that, but quite openly offered everything else to us. So it was like 14, 15-year-old kids sitting around tripping balls instead, and somehow still going to school.
And what were you injecting?
She was injecting speed.
Yeah.
And going, and I'm talking like 7, 8, and 9 day benders, sort of thing.
Jesus Christ.
And she's got, she's got a bunch of kids.
Yeah. And
that whole cycle of, dodgy dudes at the house, and let's just jump in the car, and you're more straight than I am, so you can drive, and like we'll go get more strong bows. And that was always the thing. Like, you always had to go get a carton of strong bows. So I'm like, 15, half cut behind the wheel of a car with my sister whacked out of her head, sort of thing. Like, that's where I was at. And then, as time got older and older, and mixing other people, different mates and that, so it became more commonplace, like smoke more weed, drink more, smoke more, drink more, all that sort of stuff. And generally, like, it was all pretty harmless. Like, we never really did anything too stupid. I'd take the fuck out of a bowl of fried rice, but that was about, like...
That's about as dangerous as it got.
Yeah, that's about as hardcore as I got in that respect. But, like, I was always a big drinker. I was saying to you, just, a couple of streets down the road, I used to live down there through, 3-day parties, and breakfast was wiping out a litre bottle of Cougar, sort of thing, and waking up on my lawn a day later, just be like, wow, there's only one way to fix this.
Yeah. Hair of the dog.
Walk down to Largs Pier in my boxes with one slipper, sunburnt all fuck, with a handful of change, it'd be like, beer me. That sort of thing. It was messed up. But at the time, I didn't realise that. And that's where that sort of really took its toll. And part of that came from, I was a young dad.
Yeah.
And the issues that came in there, and not being able to see my daughter, and fighting with the parents and my ex and all that sort of stuff. My answer to that was, oh, okay, I got stitched up again. Like I've tried to come good. I'll just get back on the sauce, sort of thing. That was my method of coping with it. You know, it was a savage sort of time because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you've never had any other experience.
17, 18, you don't have that experience of like how do you deal with getting a lawyer or how do you deal with family court or any of that stuff. Like in regards to my kid, her my daughter's grandparents are like, I'll sell my house to make sure I've got enough money to make sure that you never see a kid. And this is
really,
yeah,
gee, that's a bit fucking.
And this is when like I'm trying to, go to TAFE and trying to do,
Trying to do something with yourself.
Like get some skills, and I was working at the time.
Yeah,
and that crushed me. And so my response to that was like, 4-day bender. I'd get home, get plastered, wake up on the Murray River somewhere with no idea what the fuck was going on. Like just straight out blackout, like kind of like what Kay was saying. Like
yeah.
And the big tipping point in that era was child support.
Yeah.
And I'm still wickedly against child support.
Against it? In what way?
In the sense of I'm all for like parents paying and all that sort of stuff, but it was more so the manner in which they would do it.
Yeah.
Like there was no excuses. And the perfect example of I had of that, which was the key trigger at the time, was they worked out that I'd messed up my tax the year before, sort of thing. And their response was, well, you're going to have to pay, it was some astronomical amount. It was like $560 a fortnight until it was caught up. And it was out by $2,000, $3,000, something like that.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was a Centrelink student.
Yeah.
And I said,
what were you studying?
Recreation outdoor leadership.
Oh, yeah.
At TAFE, camping and all that. Night navigation and kayaking and fun stuff.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah, trying to hope, maybe I'll work in the camping industry. I'll be a tour guide or something. And when child support rang and were like, oh, you need to pay this. And I said, well, I can't. I'm a student.
Yeah.
I'm not working. I'm a student. She's like, well, you're going to have to pay it. I'm like, well, I'm not seeing where the breakdown here is. I don't have that money.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, this is how much you are. And I said, well, if I do pay that out of my income, I won't be able to eat or pay my rent. And her response was, I guess you'll be going hungry while you look for somewhere to live. From the worker at child support.
Jesus Christ.
And I remember this, I was like, sorry, can you run that past me again?
Yeah. What did you just fucking say?
And she said it again. I'm like, done. That's it. We're done. And I don't reckon it would have even been less than an hour.
Yeah.
And I was on Bendathon, like
on the piss.
On the piss, wickedly. Like I couldn't even tell you what I got up to in those 4, 5, 6 days afterwards.
Oh, 6 days. I thought you were saying hours. Jesus.
No, 6 days. Like my housemate, I remember my housemate coming home at one point and be like, dude, you got to clean yourself up. This is fucking messy. And then, sort of snap your fingers, come to, and in my room, there's like puke everywhere. There's fucking ripped up shit, broken furniture, just like dried blood. Time to maybe dial back the source of it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, like that stark realization.
Mm.
It didn't go well. I think that epiphany lasted all of about an hour again, sort of thing. Because I rang up one of my mates, I was like, what the fuck? Like, you got to come down. And I was like, shit's getting out of control.
Yeah.
Again, couldn't tell you what happened. Long story short, woke up in Modbury Hospital, tied to a bed, tripping balls.
Fucking hell.
Like, legitimately snap fingers again.
Yeah.
Like, wake up, white ceiling and curtains and doctors poking and prodding and couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And it turns out that my mate's idea of, hey, let's get you past this was let's drop acid and forget everything, including your
yeah.
existence.
That's a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
Get your mate over this. Let's give them acid.
And me being in the state that I was in, wicked idea. Let's do it.
Yeah. I guess,
and I'm pretty sure for the first 5 minutes it was good. Like, that was the one that did it. Like, because they wouldn't take the restraints off for an hour or so, 2 hours, whatever it was. It felt like fucking ages. So I had plenty of time to think about it, and I'm like, this ain't right. Like, this shit has to stop.
Has to change.
Like, I've gotten to that point. You know? We'd always joked about it over the years, like me and some of the lads. We'd always joked about it, and that was what did it. So, you know, get out of there over the next 6 months, sort of clean myself up, straighten myself out of it. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do any drugs, anything like that. I think I was still smoking ciggies, but that was about the whole of it. And gone back to TAFE and went through Regency and did like bar and waiting. Took my first job down here at the SAM.
Oh yeah.
And that was all like split shifts and shit like that. And there was a big fight there one night. And I was sort of like me, I just sort of jump in, gave the security guard a hand, like the bouncer a hand. And he's like, you know, come the end of the shift, he's like, oh, good job, bro. Like, you're a big lad, big unit. You ever thought about doing security? I'm like,
You stand fucking 7 feet.
Yeah. He's like, I remember saying to him, he's like, all you got to do is just stand in the doorway, man. Like, just block the doorway. Job's done.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is the pay like?
Yeah.
You know, like split shifts as a barman, you know, barely 19 years old sort of thing. And back then, there was no regulation. So I think there was a like Friday or Saturday night, something like that. Monday, there's a place in Highley Street. I walked in. I want a security license.
Yeah.
The guy's like, here, fill this out. Come back when you're ready.
Yeah.
Went next door to the Rosemont, sat there and had a drink and filled out the exam, and then walked back in to the guy. And I'm like, here's your paperwork. And he goes, cool. Here's your ticket.
Jesus.
Take it to Service SA or whatever it was called back in the day.
Tight security back then.
Oh, dude, it was
Jesus.
It was loose to say the least.
Shit, fucking A.
So like by Monday, and there was like a 2-week wait to get your security license, and I'd seen chub guards everywhere, like in front of banks, ATMs, whatever. Fuck it, that's got to be a good place to start. Yeah. So I did, and I would have only been working with them barely even a month.
Yeah,
and it was all patient minding at the hospital.
Oh
I don't know, like how familiar you are with that, but
look, I have a mate who does. He's a corrections officer.
Yeah,
and he does patient minding. Like when someone in the prison needs to go to hospital, he like transports them there and then looks after them there and then brings them back.
You would have done my future career.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, so I was doing patient minding.
Yep.
And you know I was doing really well. No drinking. Oh, you know, social drinking.
Social drinking, like as we all do. Yeah. Anyone who follows my Instagram knows.
And I had social drink. I had a really heavy like go on it, and everything was peachy. And I don't remember how, but I ended up getting hooked onto the ERT there. So the actual permanent based guards.
So what's ERT stand for?
Emergency response team.
Okay.
So
for chub security. Yeah.
So each hospital has its own ERT.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if something goes like wrong, they fucking swing down and
basically.
Yeah. Right.
So if patient minders sitting there looking after someone and they start arcing up, they're not legally allowed to do anything.
Restrain them. Yeah.
I mean, there's common sense. And
no more than a normal civilian in the street can, I guess. Yeah.
Basically. So they'd radio through. ERT would come down and be it restrain or hold them down while the doc injects them and drugs them out or all that sort of stuff. But at the same token, it was like dealing with fires and chemical spills. And, the roofs collapsed and everything in between. Like we were literally responsible for 5,500 people's welfare at a time. And like I said, keep in mind, this is 2 years after Captain Benderthon.
And
was young. I had no idea what I was in for. I remember the bloke that was showing me around when I first started, and he was like one of those old sagely dad dudes.
Yeah.
Walking around the hospital like 2 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, well, just when you think you've seen it all, young fella, this place will show you some more.
Yeah.
And I'm, 18, 20 years on, and I still can't prove him wrong. Like 100% in that place, just when you'd think you'd seen it all, something had come along and you're like, no shit.
Can we go over some of that stuff?
Let's
do it. I think if I'm intrigued, people are definitely intrigued by that.
Off the top of my head, a kid came to the main door. So the hospital gets locked down at night, and there's like an intercom to come through the main gates, or you come through emergency.
Yeah.
And a kid had rocked up to the main doors, and he was like off to one side, sort of holding his arm, and it didn't look right. I was like, is he packing, or like what's going on here?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I've had a bit of an accident. I'm like, well, talking to him over the intercom, go, dude, you need to come around to emergency. Like, that's where they do that. It's around the other side. He's like, yeah, no worries. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. And he sort of like just waddled off, and he showed up at emergency a couple of minutes later. From where our little booth was, we got a pretty good range, like visually. And same deal, like it was just the angle that he walked in. And so like that booth backs onto, or side onto triage.
Yeah.
So they have to come up to the counter, and I'm sort of like sitting in the window going,
what the fuck is this going to be? We need to know.
And the old duck that was working in the window, she's like, oh, what seems to be the problem? And he just sort of like rolled his shoulder and threw it, and threw his arm up, and through his forearm was the handlebars of a BMX.
Oh.
And there's just like blood pissing out everywhere. And he was completely non-fussed by it, sort of thing. And I'm just like, what the fuck? How are you not dead? And apparently he was doing some mad tricks.
Yeah.
Busted the bike and speared the bottom of the handlebar, sort of thing. So you go from that to, 20 minutes later having some drunk dude come in that's been kicked out of the club who's got a broken nose.
Yeah.
But he's going to take on the world. So then,
heroes.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And you're just standing there going, look, man, you're a pissed idiot and you're angry about something, but you got to remember I do this for a living. And sure enough, you'd end up fucking wrestling around and either turf him out or the co-ops, or, they'd take him through and tie him to a bed, fix his nose, and then send him on his way, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you have you go from ha 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 to holy shit, like someone's going to get messed up.
Yeah.
And then half an hour later, whatever, you get called up to a ward. And there's one of the ones I remember really clearly. So they have soft shackles, which is basically like almost like a shoestring, and just padding. And nurses can put those on.
Yep.
But the response team had essentially seatbelt material.
Yeah. And
it's got like multiple layers of Velcro. And they've got nurses have called and like, oh, look, we've got this old fella up here, high dependency or intensive care or something, or one of those high-end unit sort of things. He's getting pretty rowdy. Like, can you come put the hard shackles on? Like, yeah, no worries. Said to the ladies, oh, don't worry about it. I'll take this. And we get up there, and the bloke's 85 plus.
Jesus.
And he's carrying on like a pork chop.
Yeah.
In bed, can't go anywhere, like real frail.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, relax, mate, relax. It's okay. It's okay. We're just gonna help you out. No, you bloody fuckers. All this sort of thing. You're not doing experiment. No experiment. You're not working on me. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Like,
I know you're old, dude, but this shit's fucking weird.
Yeah, bro, we're not Nazis.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I go to put the restraint on him, and he's got his numbers down his forearm.
Oh, bullshit.
And it's like that clicking moment of like, oh, damn, son, you're that far gone that you think that I'm coming to do evil shit to you.
Yeah.
So you've gone from like, ha ha ha, to I'm going to kill someone, to holy shit, this guy, like, and your heart breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, because he legitimately thinks that. He's not just crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
He 100% thinks you're about to fuck him up.
The worst part about that incident was that one of the other guys came up and he was giving me a hand, and we're just tying the last little bits off. and all like the room fucking stank.
Yeah.
And we just, like it's one of those things. It got to the point where they actually had to shift everyone out of the ward because the smell was that bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do, it's a fair bit. We sort of got the all clear to go, and we're going back to the office. And my offsider, who ironically enough I'm still mates with today, is cacking it, like absolutely packing up in the elevator on the way back to the office. I'm like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, how are you laughing like that? Because it was me. I said, what are you talking about? He's losing his shit. He goes, it was me, man. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that dude's, like, we've just been dealing with that, this old dude that thinks we're Nazis.
Yeah.
And old mate sitting there going, yeah, nah, sorry, man. Like, I was running so hard, I've just had dinner. When I got to the ward, I bricked it in my pants. And he's dropped a fart so fucking bad, they had to clear people out of the ward and move him to the ward. I'm laughing, but at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, and this
blamed it on this poor bloke.
And he's blaming it on this poor fucking 80-year-old bloke that, thinks we're coming to do fucking Nazi weird-ass experiments to him, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
No.
And this is like a 12-hour window.
Yeah.
So 12-hour shift, 6 till 6, either way, day or night. And you could guarantee that your night shifts, 1 out of every 4 would just be one of those ones where just everything and anything, and then some.
Fuck.
And you sit like my favourite one though, still to this day, and it's one of those things that I sort of feel bad for laughing, but at the same time I don't. It was again sitting in the office, and a nurse one of the nurses that we get along really well with, she come running in, she's like, you got to see this, and just throws a fucking X-ray across the table.
Jesus.
I was like, oh.
Now if a nurse says that, it's fucking on.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
And threw the X-ray up to the light, and it was a bloke that had been getting overly friendly with with an action figure.
Oh no! Can you tell us what action figure?
I want to say it was a Buzz Lightyear, but at the same time I don't, because
Buzz has wings.
Yeah, because my son's right into Toy Story, man. And I'm like, I've got a Buzz toy sitting at home, and it just creeps me out. I'm like, because we bought it secondhand. I'm like, are you the ass Buzz?
Yeah, you're the ass Buzz.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say it was Buzz, but it was along those lines, and it had wings.
Yeah.
And he was getting overly familiar with it, and once he'd inserted it into himself, the wings had popped open, and he couldn't get it out. Yeah. And again, same deal. Like, we are all sitting there at 3 a.m. just losing our shit over it. And, it's one of those things. But then 2 seconds later, be it ice junkies coming in, and they've had enough and they're losing the plot and whatever else. Next thing you know, you've got an all-in brawl with, 3 or 4 ice junkies. There's police, there's detectives, there's tactical teams, there's fucking security guards and orderlies and wheelchairs getting thrown, and I'm going home covered in blood, vomit, missing shirt, scratched from high hell, sort of thing.
Jesus.
All for less than $20 an hour.
Yeah, it's not much for
dude.
what you're doing.
Mate, it was horrible.
Horrible.
But at the same time, again, didn't know any better. I just thought,
Guess you got some good stories from it too.
They pay me, I show up.
Yeah.
I said to people over the years, man, like, honestly, if I wrote down all the dumb fuckery that happened in that place, like, it'd be a pretty decent book.
You should.
I've thought about it.
Yeah, that'd be fucking funny. I'd read that.
But it's one of those dicey things, because as much as there was, amusement and everything in between, the violence in the place. And it got progressively worse over the years.
Did it?
So when I started there, like, you could guarantee Friday, Saturday night, like, pissed idiots. Like I said, like, come out the pub. Towards the end, because I was there off and on 10 years, give or take. And towards the end, it was the case of, well, how many different druggies can come through tonight and literally try and kill me? Like, with every sense of the word. There was, like, we had dudes that got stabbed with blood-filled syringes, got spat at in their eyes by guys that have more combinations of letters in their file than I can sort of imagine.
Yeah.
And it fucks their life up
Fucking
for 3-6 months at a time. And you never sort of get back after it.
No. Fuck that shit. Like if some fucking junkie stabbed me with a blood-filled syringe,
oh, mate.
I'd be out for blood, eh? Because you're like,
Yeah,
do I have AIDS? Like, well,
but at the same time, you can't.
oh, fuck, I would be.
You know what I mean?
I'd be going to jail. I don't give a shit. I'd be...
100%.
I think the judge would have a pretty fair time. Like, so, Mr. Williams, why did you smack that guy in the head with a hospital trolley?
Yesterday, didn't have AIDS. Today,
AIDS.
who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? Fair call.
Yeah.
I'd love it if that was the case.
Yeah.
I'd love it if that was the case.
But there's a problem with Australian law. If you're a junkie or whatever, you're right. Keep going.
And this is where I sort of get funny about it. They go, he had a bad childhood. He was exposed to drugs, or he didn't have a good home life. And I was like, motherfucker, neither did I.
Yeah, fuck you. Look at me. I was getting fucking touched by some older fuckhead in my thing. Yeah, fuck off.
Well, it got to a point. The violence was so bad that it really did start taking a mental toll.
Really, yeah.
And Friday knockoffs was starting to creep up again, where you get, I'll throw one down before I go to bed. Yeah. It's 6 o'clock in the morning when you finish your shift, having beers in the car park with the rest of the boys.
Yeah.
Like roadies. And when that started becoming like, 6 here, 6 at home, I started to realise, like, real quick what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was hiding it from my, at that time, fiance.
Yeah.
And I mean, that story unfolded unto itself. Like, there was a lot wrong in our relationship, but a lot of it was to do with me not being able to shut that door at work and come home to home life. So you come home always angry, just seething, all that sort of shit. And it essentially ruined the relationship for the most part. There was a lot of other shit there. But so I got out of hospital security and just went back to general guard work. Stuff like
you've probably
cash in transit.
Probably kicked me out of Bank Street Social a couple of fucking times.
Luckily, I worked in the hotel next door to it, not the Bank Street Social.
Yeah, good shit.
But I'd gone from high stress, high intensity sort of thing, to, well, it's just me in this warehouse that's empty and I don't know why I'm here for the next 12 hours.
Yeah.
Like it was just mind-numbingly fucking boring.
Yeah.
And I, so I kept up bouncing on the side, which, as we know, generally tends to be a life of, violence yet again.
Life of being called a dickhead.
Drugs, violence.
Yeah.
It did have its perks, knock off beers, attention from the ladies, that sort of shit. But even that in itself, like it wore thin. And that was right around the time when Hooksy, all that shit with David Hooks went down.
David Hooks.
So it was over in Melbourne, got clubbed by a bouncer and smashed his head and died.
Okay, yeah.
And then not long after there was the Ramsgate.
Yeah.
Same thing.
What happened there?
Security guard bounced a bloke. Now he's in prison.
Bullshit.
I'm fairly certain he died as well.
Yeah, okay.
And there was
what year was this?
Couldn't tell you off the top of my head. It's not hard to find out.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I could definitely. Yeah.
Because there's a whole different chain of events there that I'll tell you about off camera. But that was all around that time. So bouncing had gone from having a degree of respect, because everyone understood that we had a job, to you're all thugs.
You're a thug,
You're a thug, and you fucking killed Hooksy. And I'm like, I don't even watch sport. That was in a different, me personally, sort of thing. Like standing there arguing with a drunk idiot at 11 o'clock at night who thinks I'm going to kill him, sort of thing. So we got to a point where, people would be super, super aggressive and violent towards us.
Yeah.
But the second you did anything, phones would come out, cameras would come out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I had no dramas with it because I had nothing to hide.
You weren't doing nothing wrong, yeah.
But it sat in that weird grey zone of, it got to a point where we were in that grey zone of people would be fighting, we'd kick him out the club.
Yeah.
If we didn't do anything, we'd get in trouble for not doing something.
Yeah.
But if we did something, then we'd get in trouble for doing something.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's a terrible thing, that, isn't it?
It was mental.
Yeah.
And same deal, getting paid fuck all to deal with what I dub society's finest.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah,
in their happiest hours. And I know full well, man, like that's been me on more than enough occasions, sort of thing. But at least now, even to this day, I still have that teeny little bit of respect. I'm like, I was one of you once.
Yeah.
You know? So again, I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done with security.
Yeah.
And somewhere in my brain, something triggered, and I ended up doing prisoner transport.
Yep.
Go pick him up from the guest house and take him to court, or take him to a different prison, or take him to a hospital appointment, stuff like that. Not so much the violence, you know, just the constant threats and stuff like that. And I was used to it. There's water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
Like, if I had $1 for every time someone told me they were, you know, going to kill my mum or rape my sister, or, you know, I'm going to burn your house down. Like, bitch, please, I'm a millionaire. Like, I am now.
Yeah.
But I had that same sort of lack of self-concern sort of thing.
Yeah.
So someone would be like, oh, I want a cigarette. Oh, that's nice. I want a Ferrari. Big fucking deal. Oh, you're a smart ass. I'm like, yes, I am. Oh, well, come in here. We'll see how smart you are. I said, well, instead of me coming in there and us punching on, I said, think of it this way. I'll come in there. You can wail on me. You get an extra year or two.
Yeah.
I get work cover and go sit on an island somewhere drinking margaritas while you're doing an extra 2 years for beating up a corrections officer.
Yeah.
Oh, well, fuck you, boss. Like, and then I'd go in there.
Yeah.
And my co-worker said, well, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of over this. You know, I don't care. If that's my ticket out of here,
yeah, fucking
care fuck to zero. You know, it wouldn't be the first time I've gone home with a broken nose, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But where my downfall came in that was, like I was saying to you earlier, like I'm shit with names at the best of times.
Oh, welcome
but
to my fucking
very
life.
rarely forget a face.
Yeah.
Like I'd meet people and I recognise their face, and I got that mental Rolodex of like, do I know you from basketball, or did I tie you to a bed once?
Yeah.
You know, sort of thing. Not
Is that? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, you walk around looking at chicks. Like, hey.
Maybe
I know who it is.
Few drinks, but you know, so there's always that Rolodex, and I recognise this bloke, but and it was the first time ever I could not put my finger on what was going on. Like I recognised him, but I couldn't figure it out. And lo and behold, I was the one that got to take him to court.
Yeah.
And so you get handcuffed up, and you go and you walk through your little tunnel, and you
So you're handcuffed wrist to wrist. With
yeah,
this
yeah,
guy. Yep.
yeah. It's fucking awkward when they got to pay. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Like,
Holding his cock for him.
basically. But if they've been a smart ass, you sort of jiggle your arm and make them fucking piss on themselves. But,
Yeah.
you know, I personally wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But I've heard stories. You know.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So anyway, yeah, get into court, same bullshit. Yes, you're on a no, you're on a 3 bags full, whatever, fucking la la. And they start reading out, and it was sentencing day. And I really hadn't been paying attention. I was too preoccupied by the fact I knew this bloke from somewhere, but I couldn't figure out where.
Just staring at him.
Basically.
Yeah.
And it was fucking awkward, man, because I'm, sitting there literally tied to the dirt. They started reading out his sheet, and everything on it was all to do with kids in the worst possible sense, and like fucked up ages for a man of this age.
What sort of age bracket were you?
We're talking like 5 and up.
Fuck.
Which I have major issues with anyway, because obviously what happened to me.
Yeah, no shit.
And when they read through it and they asked us to stand up and how do you play, and they said his name, and it was like that
light bulb.
That light bulb. Yeah, and it chinged off in my head. And I realised that this is the bloke that used to be foster care or emergency care, or whatever the fuck it was back in the day, that had done the same things to me and my sister. And and I'm fairly certain that came out of me at one point. But that's where...
How did he plead?
Not guilty.
Mother.
As you do.
Fuck!
Yeah.
Oh!
See how angry you're getting now. Like,
Piece
imagine...
of fucking yeah.
Like,
fuck.
So all I remember is just essentially blacking out, for want of a better term of it.
Fucking tunnel vision in.
Basically.
Yeah.
I was
You just
like,
see red. That's what we say. Yeah, you just fucking seen red.
And I remember when he sat down and like they're writing out their paperwork and shit. And keep them all, like, I'm still tied to him. And I remember thinking, like, and it was just one track thought. I was like, I reckon I can, like I said to you, I reckon I can collapse your skull on this fucking banister and get out of here before anyone figures out what's going on.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I never even flinched. And coming from, be at the hospital or bouncing or whatever it was, it's always that reactive thing of like, if you think someone's going to swing fast and swing first, sort of thing. And for whatever reason, it's the one time in my life that's not been the case.
It's probably because you've got that real good, like, controlled aggression from what you've been doing. Like, aggression's
even to this day,
aggression's the best thing in the world. Like, a little known sort of thing, society would tell us, modern society, aggression's the worst thing. Can't be aggression's the greatest thing ever. But if it's controlled aggression, someone with controlled aggression is fucking dangerous.
Yeah. Now I've told different versions of this story of why I got out of that job. But being where we are and, telling the whole story. So
all the truth, nothing but the truth.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Didn't flinch, didn't fucking give anything away. And I had to take him back to the cells. Because regardless, win, lose or draw, like, you have to get processed back into the cells. And I've gone back, threw him back in his box, taken my cuffs, walked back to the office, never even bothered putting him back in the pouch and just throwing him on the desk.
What did you throw down?
Handcuffs.
Oh, handcuffs, yeah.
So I throw my cuffs, keys, radio, fucking tie. That was the official one, when you take off your clip-on tie and throw it on the desk.
Oh, because it'd have to be a removable tie, wouldn't it?
Everything's removable. Yeah. That's why, like, same deal. That's why I still got a shaved head. Like, force of old habit. Nothing to grab onto. And the boss was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" I'm like, "I'm out." He goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, I'm fucking out. And he's like, what? I'm missing something. What's going on? I'm like, I'm telling you now, I'm not going into it. But if I stay here, you'll be taking me up there. I'm
going to be Green Mile on this shit.
Like, I will be on fucking Dead Man's Mile. Sort of thing. And just so much seething fucking rage.
Right. Fuck, I'm in a seething fucking rage.
And yet, how that sort of played out was a trigger point again.
Yeah.
So I'd gone for all these years where I'd been able to socially drink and just chill and whatever else, to going home and be like, I can't deal with that. Like pro level drinking sort of thing. Like, I made a beer bong that was big enough that you could fill a bottle of Jack Daniels in it.
Really? Yeah.
And then just fucking neck it.
Hey, on a more light note, I'm a big beer bong builder. Like, that is one of my big credits.
After we're done, I'll show you some of my creations.
Me and the boys once got on Triple J's hottest one. This is like 4 years ago. Yeah. We sent Triple J a photo of it when Triple J wasn't a cuck fest, but when it was good, we sent them a photo of like a 2-story beer bong, and they were like, "Oh, and shout out to the Adelaide boys with the beer bong."
Oh my god!
Yes,
crowning achievement.
And then I remember going into Bunnings, and like, you'd be in Bunnings with like a funnel and like some like those like wire tie things.
Yeah.
And like a couple of taps.
I'll tell you the best place.
You're walking out and people just they're looking at you
on South Road.
Wait, which one?
Garganis, the warehouse that sells all like spices and preserving gear and international food and that.
Really?
They got funnels, man. Like, you can put your head in them and I made a beer bong that was so like held a stubby perfectly and it fit inside another one.
That's epic.
Sort of thing. Well, I'll show you photos of it, man.
Yeah.
But my creation upon all creations was a Piccadilly bottle. And I went to an agricultural supply store and got like 2-inch gauge piping. And twist taps and, science the fuck out of it.
Yeah, I've had some pro ones.
11 litres, had to hang it on an engine hoist.
Yeah.
And, mate, some not pretty things came out of that.
Bro, like, we had one called Rapunzel once. It was like, Rapunzel, let down your beer. And it was just...
With what was it called? Bongstrosity. And people still talk about it. You got to name
your beer. You got to name the beer.
Oh yeah, and this thing was a weapon, man. Like, you were guaranteed that if you were hitting that, you weren't coming back in any good state, sort of thing.
I remember seeing a good mate of mine. We had the big beer bong, and we look over, and he's like, "I'll beer bong anything, anything. I'll beer bong it." And me and the boys like, "Oh yeah," and I look over, and the boys have the beer bong, and the fridge open, and they're like, fuck this bloke. And just got a full carton of eggs. And our mate's like, it's fucking on. And did, I think it was like a can of like West End and 12 eggs.
A Red Devil on top of 12
and
eggs.
did the whole thing.
Oh, no.
So at least he got his protein in for the night before he got
fuck.
blind.
Before it all came back on him, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
When we had the little one, everybody's like, oh, I've heard about this beer bong. I want to drink this beer bong. And I'll bring it out. And it, like I said, like it was perfectly measured to fit a stubby.
Yeah.
And people would neck it and be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I'm like, that was the training. What do you mean training? And there was like this whole ritual of coming out the house. We're like, oh, you know. And then you take the little one, put it in the big one.
That's so fuck.
You'd fill the little one with Jägermeister.
Oh, ugh.
And then fill the big one with Red Bull.
Oh.
And it was essentially wiping out like half a bottle of Jägermeister in one hit.
I haven't had Jaeger in a good...
I haven't
I
either.
don't think I've had it in maybe 9 to 12 months.
I haven't either. And that right there is the reason.
Oh,
you
bro.
only do that sort of thing.
Have you, you know the whole Jägermeister thing with the Oh Dear God?
No?
So I don't have I think I have a bottle somewhere. I'll show you after this. So on the, I only found this out the other day off like a meme.
Yeah.
So the front Jaeger thing, it's got a deer, like it's got a deer on it, and there's a circle around it.
Yeah.
So that's oh dear, and then on top of the deer's head, there's a what's the thing fucking Jesus got put up on a fucking
cross.
A cross. Yeah, and the whole point is oh dear God. That's I only found that I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I've been drinking this shit for years. I never knew that. Like
Fucking shenanigans.
yeah, it'll blow you. Next time you see a bottle of Jaeger, you're like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, that probably. I'll see one, but I won't be buying one. I know that, mate.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I mean, get back to it. Like, my drinking kicked off to a point that I worked out that vanilla Coke was the best thing that ever came out.
Really? What with?
Jack Daniels. So Coke had a promotion out where they gave out like milkshake glasses.
Yeah.
And you could 3/4 empty a bottle of Jack Daniels into one of these glasses.
Yeah.
And then fill the rest of the glass with vanilla Coke. And it was just enough to take the burn off it that you could bomb the whole lot in one hit. So essentially one glass was a bottle.
Ugh.
And then I'm walking around, you know, hey, I can't wait to go to work in 3 days. Like, just fucking shabtastic. Like,
Jesus.
and then same deal. Like, I couldn't even tell you what the epiphany moment was, but there was definitely one in there because I'm like, I can't do this. Yeah. I can't do this. And that was around like all that time. So there was like the collapse of, you know, my engagement and all the rest of it. And, you know, oh no, that's actually what it was. I remember being on the phone to a mate as I was going up Port Wakefield Road at about 150, 160 with a bottle of Jack Daniels in my mouth.
Christ.
Like just zero fucks given.
Yeah.
You know.
That is zero fucks given.
100%. And then some. Like I was at the lowest of the low sort of thing. And that was my out. I'm like, fuck it. And I remember, and
because at that point, that's when you're putting other people in danger. Like when you said about when you were younger, and it was like, look, but we never. The worst I did was attack some fucking McGorang.
Yeah.
But at that point, when you're speeding at 160 down the road with a bottle of JD,
and I don't think that ever really clicked over in my head.
Yeah.
Until, you know, days after.
Yeah.
And this is me, like the guy that's I've seen first. Like I've had to hold people down while they're getting their face stitched back on. Because they've been in a car accident sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and here's me just like, care factor. Because that's how bad
that's what it does.
The beat depression and everything else kicked in from that trigger point.
And do you think this all roots down to you being abused when you were younger?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think my attitude towards people being abused, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Exactly like you, that same rage every time I hear about it.
Yeah. It's a fucking rage for me. Like it's something that, and this is going to sound pretty bad, I think, to a lot of people. A lot of crimes I can understand.
Oh, 100%.
I can understand. You would have been charged with murder if you put that guy's skull through the desk.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can, a lot of crimes, even speeding and whatever, I can be like, it's stupid.
To agree with it. But I can see the reasoning.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. I don't agree with it, but I can see the reasoning because I've been that fucking rage.
Yeah.
But when it comes to sexual anything, especially pedophilia, I'm like, You
Almost.
fucking
the most
animal.
random time,
Like,
man. You just fucking reminded me of something else. But again,
Yeah.
that's 100% like the after
Send
dark version of this show.
well, we can go after dark on this shit. As bad as you want, it's no pressure at all.
No. No, this one's left for another
This was
time.
left
But
for another time, yeah.
but that was, and I'm still good mates with the guy that was on the phone.
Yeah.
And he's saying to me, he's like, slow the fuck down, come out here, we're all here, we'll get you through it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
What a fucking good mate, man.
Yeah.
It's a fucking good dude to do that. That's
100%.
that's not fucking easy to do.
I know he's watching this too.
Oh, yeah.
And
Shout
I'm
out.
not, I'm not saying shit.
Don't say his name.
He knows who he is.
Shout out, brother. Good on you, man.
He knows who he is.
Yeah. We appreciate it, brother.
And same sort of deal. Like I had to go back to zero and start that whole process again. No drinks, no drugs, no fucking, like completely remove my situation.
Yeah.
Where shit would just set me off like that sort of thing. And again, did wickedly. Went for years. And where it all come to head, and there's been twice in recent years, and I'll mung through them. One of them was losing my grandfather.
Yep.
So my wife was pregnant and we lost the baby.
Okay.
Not long after we lost grandpa. And my grandpa was the closest thing I had to an actual proper fucking dad.
Yeah.
Like I idolise the guy still to this day. And same deal. I hadn't drunk in ages. And I think we'd gone back to the hotel after the funeral. And I was already half cut by the time we got upstairs to the room sort of thing. Again, zero fucks. My wife sort of nursed me through that one. But then come more recent times, there's been a wicked shift in our family dynamic. Okay. So I spent the last long years getting back together with my brother and mum and dad.
Your brother's similar age to yourself?
8 years younger.
Yep.
Just as ugly and just as tall.
Okay.
Poor
bloke.
Yeah, and then some. I tell people like he's got a pretty stomping beard.
Oh,
and so like he's got the beard and I'm the fat one. That's the only difference between the two of us. Family dynamic changed.
Yeah.
And again, I mean that's not really something for this, but the effect of that was depression kicking in again, noticeably kicking in again. And I could see that spiral coming, and I knew I was in trouble.
Yeah.
Whether it was, but at least I was quick enough to figure out, oh shit, I've got to talk to someone.
Okay.
Be it a GP or, a psych or I'll talk to the old random guy that's always got wisdom at the bar.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, there's some wise motherfuckers.
And lo and behold, I still don't even know how it came up. I was smashing through Facebook trying to take my mind off shit.
Yeah.
And SA Brothers come up.
Yeah. SA, fucking legends.
And that's been my saving grace. And I've never made a secret of it, and I said a few times in recent weeks especially, I'm 100% convinced that I'm here in the capacity that I am because of SA Brothers. If I hadn't have found that group at that time, I dare say I don't think I would have got to a point where I would have started looking for an out.
Yeah.
But I know I certainly wouldn't be in a good state.
You're on that spiral.
Yeah. And I was right at the top of the spiral where I could see the direction it was going in, and I was trying to find a way out of it, but I didn't know how.
Yeah.
And I got onto SA Brothers and pretty much just sat there for the better part of the night because I couldn't sleep. Just going through the group and reading comments, reading stories, seeing all the shit that other people are going through.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting there like, holy fuck. Like, I'm not the only one.
No,
I'm
not even close.
I'm not the only dude that's battled child support, or battled drugs, battled this, battled, depression, all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
And that ultimately is the biggest part of what sort of saved me from that spiral again.
Yeah.
The biggest part of that being, because how the group works in terms of like people go in there, they say, oh, this is what I'm going through. And then instantaneously, I think there's a lad on there today or yesterday. And I was last look, there's like 200 odd comments and it's all the same. Dude, don't know you from a box of rocks. Here's my number. Give me a call.
Yeah.
My inbox is open. Oh, what do you need? Do you need a ride or do you want to just come and have a chat? All that sort of shit. And it reinstilled that faith in me that maybe not everyone are assholes.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can put it out there and talk to other people and trust other people. Because I've gone from 18, nearly 20 years of essentially everyone trying to kill me.
Yeah.
And that's not a paranoia thing, which that's the weirdest part about it.
Yeah.
The job I'm in now, the first week I was on the job, my boss said to me, he was like, "Oh, how are you finding the new job?" I was like, "Dude, this is fucking wicked. Nobody's tried to kill me this week." And he's like, "Not entirely sure.
Where the fuck are you from?
what you're talking about?" I'm like, "No, seriously, man, it's wicked."
Yeah, fuck.
Like, and to find that in that group,
yeah,
like 100%.
Yeah,
my wife says the same thing. She's like, "That's made the world a difference."
Bullshit.
And that's what, like, I'm always, you know, I may not always be commenting per se, but I see those struggles of those, and I'll back them till the end of days.
Yeah, so
and I see the good work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And you see those like you had, you know, just last week, like
Kyle, yeah, Friday.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
I was, you know, like listening to his story and seeing what, like, from the page, sitting back just going, holy shit, man, like, we are same but different.
Very, very like, similar aspects in you. I mean, not similar events, but similar outcomes and progressions through things.
I think the outcomes were the same, but I found that, like, by you giving him that platform, I related to his story, because I remember saying, like, he'd go blackout drunk. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, that's me. Yeah. But at the same time, like he's saying, you know, going to the cells and having to be in there over the weekend, I was the guy coming to pick him up from the cells. Like, I've seen both sides of that story and seen people at their lowest, but never really clicked in my head that that's okay for that to be me as well, sort of thing. That's what I mean. That's just a prime example of why I love what you're doing here and giving people the voice.
Well, thanks. That's the whole purpose of this show, the whole thing, and it's not just a male show. Like, there will be girls come on, but it's giving people. I said this in sort of the beginning episode. It's like, I've got so many friends like yourself, who have never really had their story told, and I've got the time and ability, I guess, to do it. Yeah. And you know, it's not hard for me. I've got a pretty good setup. It's pretty easy for people to come and do it. And I'm really intrigued by it. Like, I love, like, podcasts like Joe Rogan's and stuff.
It's that odd curiosity that goes with it as well.
Yeah, but, like, they're like celebrities they have on. And I'm like, and that's fine. Yeah. But, like, I think, well, these people like yourself and Kale and all the other people have just as good as stories, if not better, but more relatable. Yeah. You can't relate. You can't relate to The Rock. Oh, I crashed my fucking Lamborghini. Exactly. You and me can't relate to that. No. But the whole aim is to get these stories out there. Like, there's probably listening who think, I can't relate to Leeroy at all. Like, not at all. 100%. But then they could jump across to, so I had my episode with Connor Farron, who's a World Cup downhill racer. Yeah. Watch that and holy fuck, like, I can relate to this and whatever. Well, like the elitist attitude.
The I can't remember any of their names. The bloke, the sleep study bloke.
Dave Stevens, I think. Yeah.
And same deal. Like, I'm watching it, like, it was interesting as shit, but I'm like, I sleep. Like, end of story. Yeah. No, but I think that one was a very informational piece. Yeah. But then I think the week or two after, AFP guy, who become cop and then bounced back and forth. Yeah, and he was telling the story of what happened to him. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, holy shit, man. I think I wrote in the chat a few times. Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. Same. Yeah. Like, while our stories were very different, it was trigger points of just shit. Yeah. Exactly. Like, but incidents at work that had that long-term effect. Well, see, I've been studying actually a lot of PTSD recently. Yeah. Like, massively into it. And my whole opinion's actually changed very quickly, very recently. Of this long-term and short-term PTSD. Yeah. And short-term tends to be a lot, I'm not a fucking psychologist, so no one quote me on this, but short-term tends to come out in big, like, outbursts of things happen, you can't get over it, you're thinking about it, but it lasts a matter of months or a few years, where long-term PTSD isn't as obvious, but you have trigger points that happen. So, say with some of the, like AFP,
he didn't have short-term. You either have one or the other, apparently.
Yeah.
He didn't have short-term PTSD. He didn't care after it.
Yeah.
But then years and years down the track, he had this.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at your case, say, I would actually say because the studying with PTSD and sexual abuse too,
Yeah.
it's like an 80% increase in that you will have mental health issues down the track. Now, I'm not saying that you're like done by it, but it might actually have an influence on your attitude.
You're definitely right. Like now you said that, I'm like, well, it's two sides for me.
Yeah,
but
because for the 10 years after it, you might not have had any really upfront, like out there problems.
Yeah.
But you're more susceptible. So yeah, the whole point of long-term PTSD is you're more susceptible to trigger points.
Damn you, education.
It's a really good book, man, on it. But yeah, so short-term PTSD, you will have short-term things happen. So like guys get back from a war, they hear a car backfire and they hit the ground.
You were saying about a guy saying like give it 10 years or so and we'll start seeing people come out of like Afghanistan.
Now, that's what this is sort of studying is end of Iraq war.
Yeah,
there was there were some very short term issues.
Yeah,
guys, short term massively fucked up, and but now we're starting to actually start to see out of Timor, Iraq.
Yeah,
we're starting to see that long term PTSD of trigger points happening, and now that you look, those guys are 40-ish now, say,
and now it all starts seeping.
They have something. They're fine. Next thing, trigger point, and it all goes downhill. So long-term PTSD is a lot different. It's really interesting.
I've always been in a really weird position with what happened to me in those young years. Like, yeah, it happened, and it clearly bothers me to some extent.
Yeah, but
I've never put that as an active sort of thing. I think all my emotional responses, or like we keep saying, like trigger points, have all come from exceptional circumstances.
Yeah,
around, more so the hospital.
Okay, yeah.
So, and this is one thing I was just thinking of while you say that. So, especially in that industry, I would imagine it'd be like earlier years of the army, in sense of your whole job is to be the big, tough, scary guy in that industry. Yeah. So to walk into the office and be like, boys, I'm fucking struggling.
Yeah.
Oh, you poof, fuck off. And like, not in that, like you do with your workmates or your mates in general.
Yeah.
They know when something's up, sort of thing, but not insecurity. And that, to this day, I still think is the case.
Yeah.
But being part so young.
Yeah.
Like around that time, there was like 14, 15 of us. Not one of them is still in security. And they are, like, we're all cooked, man. In one way or another, we're all fucking cooked.
Yeah.
And we all struggle. Like, just saying about PTSD, and I was just sort of thinking, there was no support, there was no outreach, anything like that. In fact, more than enough occasions our boss come down and be like, oh, anybody die? Not today. Oh, okay, good job. Yeah. And then be on his way, sort of thing.
Fuck. Did you find it easier whilst doing it than when you're out of it?
100%.
Because that's 100% what the science would show behind it.
100%.
Is that close-knit group. So
yeah,
PTSD and stuff tends not to, long term at least, sort of pop its head up while you're in the same group of people in the same tribe. So the study of this book, the whole premise of it was this fella tribe, mate. You got to read it. It'll change your fucking life.
Got it on order.
It no shit changes your fucking life.
Yeah.
The premise was he integrated himself with the US Army Rangers for a amount of time, and then an ancient Indian tribe as well, an American Indian tribe. Anyway, he looked at the PTSD of the guys in the Army Rangers in Afghanistan was fuck all. When they got home and all split, everything popped up. Everything, and the Indians are born into a position. Yeah. They live in that position and then they'll die in that position.
And that's it.
And they don't even know what it is. It's less than 1%. No one has it. PTSD. It's like the suicide rate in the army. It's slow as fuck. And it's when the guys get out and it skyrockets.
And say 100% totally agree.
Yeah.
Because I know full well, like I said, like one of those lads I'm still good mates with.
Yeah.
Did the drop the fart.
That's a fucking good story.
I'm still good with mates with him. And as soon as we get back together and it's kind of like, telling your war story sort of thing. Like you get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you understand how fucked up it is. But I go home, tell my wife, I don't tell her half that shit, sort of thing, because she doesn't need to know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it comes from that environment, like you know, 48 hours in 4 days, living out each other's back pockets. Like this is your work family, sort of thing.
There's been a lot of people in the chat talk about people from like World War II and stuff with PTSD, and I was actually talking to a friend, a very, very highly decorated 2 commando sniper. Only something about this the other day, and he actually had a new view on that I hadn't with Australian veterans. Was he, especially World War II? He said countries went to war. So if you're an English soldier, you go to war on the in France or Germany or wherever. But back home, London's getting bombed and England's at war in England. And his view was this is why Australian veterans suffered so bad.
Because they didn't come back to that.
Well, the Australian guys went away and nothing happened in Australia. Literally, if you were living under a rock, you wouldn't know. Like I know we had a few bombs dropped on Australia.
A bit, but not in comparison.
You look at the Blitz or something in London, not even comparable. Or like what's it called? There's a place in Germany that got fucking flattened. A city. I should remember it. But so he was like, because the Australian vets went away and came back to life unchanged, that these people hadn't suffered through it.
They had changed.
They were
people they were
aliens.
coming back to hadn't.
Yeah, they were aliens that they didn't know. Where in England and America, and the statistics show this, or maybe not America not as much, but in Europe, that
it's insane.
The country went to war. The soldiers went just as much front line as you're getting a bomb dropped in London, and that's why they suffered significantly worse. The Australian vets.
It's insane that it's taken this long for people to start putting all the jigsaw puzzles together.
I think there's a lot of like, I don't know what it is, but it's like it makes sense, but it's almost putting the onus on people that don't want to take the onus. Like,
100%.
It's not a you problem. It's a societal problem. If that makes sense. Like, people want to be like, oh no, you have PTSD because you went to war. Not you have PTSD because the society doesn't know how to deal with you on your back.
But it's like you were saying, like, be it AFP, fireys, all that sort of stuff, like same sort of deal in terms of some of the shit they say. Like, that's like turning around and going, well, you chose to be a fiery. You choose to get the broom out and sweep up someone's skull. No.
And we never chose that.
That's
exactly.
fair call. Someone has to do it, but you know, a little bit of help and support wouldn't go off, right?
Oh mate, I couldn't agree more. There's
but see, that's where the security industry and in particular, like those ERT blokes, they sit in that bullshit grey zone between that grey zone sort of thing. Like they're in the
but the one thing I'll put with that too is you guys aren't held to like a same sort of community image too. So like,
oh god no,
I walk down the street in uniform on Anzac Day and I'm getting fucking cheered and this and that. It's a celebration for us. Fire is very highly respected. Whatever. Like cops, fires, ambos, we look at them as heroes, society heroes. If you or one of your lads walked past me and chubbed security, I wouldn't give a shit.
No, exactly.
And even like, you don't know that happens. Like, so you don't have that sort of outer community support some other services have. And that means a lot to people.
100%. And even that in itself, that was part of one of the things that I was still a little bit bitter about. So when I started there at the Queen, we commanded a degree of respect. Everybody knew that we were there to save their lives. Sort of thing. It just didn't happen as often. By the end, we weren't even shit on someone's boot. Sort of thing.
That's fucking bullshit.
Well, I don't know what the attitude shift there was. But people didn't care. And that was part of leaving as well. It was like, I'm not going to get stabbed or, beaten to a pulp to protect you. Oh, but here's a prime example, and not many people would be aware of this either. There was an incident at the Queen years back, and without giving too much away, it ended up in coroner's court.
Jesus.
And the nurse that was working at the time, that was meant to be a good mate of mine, mate, she didn't just throw me under the bus sort of thing. Like, she was holding me in front of the bus as it hit me sort of thing to try and fucking put me in the limelight. And I never had anything to fear. I never did it. Like, I literally just cocked up some paperwork.
Yeah.
But because I cocked the paperwork, I had to go to coroner's court.
Yeah.
I walked out of the coroner's court like, fuck me, I killed the man. Sort of thing, you know. And that was the indication right there that nobody cared. Like, you will literally take the fall. They will find a way and you will take the fall. And I was like, fuck this.
Find a way to
mate,
fuck you over.
I don't even make $17 an hour, mate. Like, I'm not.
Fuck off.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so even then, like, society's shift to it was really fucking obvious. And it was no better like, still bouncing at the same time. And that was all around that Dave Hooks time. Well, maybe that was it. Maybe it was that spate of, like, Hooksies and, what you know, the lad down at the Ramsgate. But there was never that support that went with it.
Yeah, which there fucking should be.
You know, like, seeing some fucking messed up stuff.
Yeah, bro. Fucking oath.
And your boss just go, oh, well, cool. Like, you know, just come back tomorrow. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then you find out, like, nursing stuff, because they've been dealing with the same thing. They're off for a month.
Yeah.
Getting their head back together. Yeah. And we're straight back in the fold.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah. I still can't believe that it's not much better.
Nah.
Like, all this time later, and it's not much better. And that's why I sort of take a bit of extra attention to some of the lads that I still talk to, rarely, but I do.
Yeah. And
just check in with them.
And what do you think needs to change? Like, what's happening? Or what can we do to sort of swing that back?
I think that's what I'm a big fan of. Are you okay? Like, as cheesy as fuck as it is, or like Triple M had the version today of we're not going to talk so that you can, sort of thing. It doesn't take much to send a text or have that conversation or just ring someone. I've been doing it a bit lately of, like, just randomly Facebooking people that I haven't spoken to for a bit. Just going, hey, you know, we haven't caught up for a bit. Just checking in. How's things? You're all right. Like, you know, talk to Uncle Leafy. Yeah. Sort of thing. And you'd be surprised how many times that's paid off. Yeah. Like,
oh, fucking hell.
That sort of thing. I think once people get it in their head that it's okay to do that sort of thing, I would love to say we need more from the medical side of things. Yep. You know, more
professional
medical stuff.
Support.
But speaking from my own experience, I didn't find it useful in terms of, like, talking to a GP or the hospital or, you know, the mental health clinics and stuff like that. It's worked for plenty of other people, just didn't work for me. I'd like to see more awareness of places to talk. Yeah. And just because I find, for me, as soon as you start verbalising it, it sort of starts the floodgates of working out where the issues are, sort of thing. So, I mean, in terms of, like, the security lads, like, I'd just check in with them. Yeah. And, you know, you're doing it. Like, I know your job's pretty fucked up. Like, you cool? Like, you're doing all right? Yeah. Oh, no, man, like, actually. And then sit there and have that conversation. Again, I mean, that boils back to SA Brothers. Yeah. Same deal there. People have slowly cottoned onto the fact that they can go onto that group and go, oh, hey, you know, blah, 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 X, Y, Z. Yeah. And 200 people instantly pop up and just be in their corner, back in the corner. Like, get it out there and get the mentality swung back. Yeah. That it is okay to be struggling with different aspects of your life.
Oh, life isn't easy, bro.
But you don't have to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think that in itself had a lot to do with why I come unstuck. Yeah. Because I wasn't aware. I just wasn't aware that there was other people going through the same thing, or that it was okay to be fucked up, as long as, you know, you were heading in the right direction, sort of thing. Everyone struggles in some capacity. It's just a matter of how badly. Yeah. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Fucking earth.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. We're getting the right way. Like,
we're pointing in the right direction.
I think we're in the right way. We're just not sailing through yet.
Yeah. And ultimately, you know, hopefully I've got a few more years left in me, and I'd like to think that by the time my kids are older, they're in a society where they can openly go, hey, I'm really fucking not cool with this, or struggling, or X, Y, Z. You know, what can I do, or where can I go, or who can I talk to? Like, they feel comfortable enough to do that.
Yeah, but I think too, society might actually be taking the back steps with, you know, guys who look like you or me. Yeah. As I know you're just white dickhead males.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, where does that come from? Fuck off.
Yeah. When you throw in I'm all for awareness and equality and all
course,
that sort of
everyone is.
stuff. But whether or not it shifted that bit too far,
That's my thing.
and everything comes back
it
to
has shifted too far.
white male privilege. Or you don't know what hard is because you haven't.
It'd come down
done this or
to,
done that.
so you white male privilege were detaining this person in the hospital. You don't know his story. You don't know what he's done.
I could almost
And
guarantee
you look like a prick.
telling this story elsewhere, they'll be like, "Oh, you're a fucking thug,"
Yeah.
or you don't know what that guy was going through. Well, yeah, actually, I do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's funny that.
And in the start, I was really respectful. Dude's just having a bad day. And it was always great because once they sort of got over that hurdle and you'd see him leave on the Monday or Tuesday and be like, "Oh, I'm feeling better now. Thanks, Cap. Like, you really looked after me." By the end, I'm like, "Yeah, if you die, I won't cry."
Yeah.
Like, you are a thorn in my side and almost everyone's existence. And that was, part of my attitude that sucked as well.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very mindful of that now. So, what you say to people. But there's always going to be that one or two people that sit back and I put it down to fuck the police mentality.
Yeah.
And you were going on about that the other day.
Fuck me.
If you're going to be a dickhead, take the punishment.
Yeah.
Don't blame them for doing their job.
Fucking oath.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
If you say
that
fuck the
mentality.
police, you're not a letter in 000. Fuck off.
Exactly.
Like, nah, fuck you.
Fucking exactly.
Like, imagine this is what I said the other day. Imagine the audacity of putting a post on Facebook saying fuck the police and then breaking the law. Like,
And then coming home. The number of times I've thought about this and you see keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Fuck the police. They're a bunch of assholes. Do you fucking just tax, blah, blah, blah. And then they go home from work and find out their house is broken into.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to call the cops. So I'm fucking catch the butt. Yeah, no, sorry, mate. You lost that right.
Yeah.
It's like people that, complain about what political parties in power. Yeah. Oh, fuck Liberal. Oh, who'd you vote for? Oh, I just wrote suck a dick on mine. I'm like,
Yeah.
so you're not seeing where the issue is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I put a thing up because I never, the biggest way to kill your social following is post about political issues.
Oh, shit, yeah.
But I put a thing up about, like, look, I don't care if you vote far left, far right, centre, anything.
Just don't
but
be
if
a
you're the dumb fucking idiot who doesn't vote, like, I would rather you vote for some far right or far left
Exactly.
than if you don't vote, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you have waived your right to have a say.
And you shouldn't be allowed to complain about it afterwards.
Like, do you know the amount of countries where they kill each other?
They literally kill people.
They literally kill people
For the right to vote.
People have died for hundreds of years trying to get a right to vote. And now you're the ones that suck a dick on your
That
paper.
one in particular fucking annoyed me.
Yeah.
Because the amount of people that were sharing posts on Facebook of people like writing just stupid shit and then just throwing it away.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting back going, right, so when you break your leg and you're stuck in the hallway of the hospital for the next 28 hours because there's nowhere to put them, don't bitch about it.
I know.
It's that same mentality. And this is, it's an odd time to be living, man. It really is.
Bro, you know,
I fear for my kids, but I'm excited for them.
No, I don't. I think everything's swinging back, eh?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to go opposite, and all these people are going to, what the fuck? Like, they're going to push the silent. So it's the silent majority.
That are slowly
Well,
gaining
Liberal got
momentum.
in
Yeah.
by a fucking whitewash.
Yeah.
It's a silent majority. And these fringes of every side are going to push a bit far,
Yeah.
and then it's going to go real fucking bad one way.
Are you you offended Jim Jeffries?
Was. Not anymore.
Now on the
Not
same,
since what he's done. Fuck that guy.
I'm the same on this.
Yeah.
But there was one fine example there when he was talking about Trump.
Okay, yeah.
And it's my same sort of outlook on it at the moment, where when they announced that Trump was, running for America, and he's sitting back just chuckling, and he's gone, fuck it, let's see how bad this train wreck can get, sort of thing. And I sort of feel like that's where we're heading. It's either going to be a complete and utter fucking train wreck, or it's just going to be a complete culture shock, and it'll swing back around.
But it hasn't though. Like Trump is like, well, I'm not saying I like the bloke, but if you look on paper, he's done some pretty good shit for the country. Like he's out there.
I can't even come up. I genuinely cannot even come up with the dumb fuckery that bloke has achieved.
Oh, he's a dumb fuck.
But at the same time, like I saw just yesterday, he's the first sitting American president
To walk across North Korean border.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bro.
I was
Like,
sitting there going, the guy's a complete dick, but you know what? Who else can claim
America
that?
need a bit of a
No
complete
one.
dick, bro. That's what they need. Like, and I talk about this as like, people in Australia have a problem with that shit. You're like, well, you don't understand. You're not American.
Yeah.
You're not this. Now, I listen and watch a lot of Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
Now, if he came to Australia, no, it would not fucking work. But imagine if you put ScoMo or Bill Shorten in Russia.
Mate.
Like, and I'm like, no. Putin's the best thing to ever happen to Russia.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's
You
common.
look at the state of how it was to how it is now.
I know.
The guy, is a tough cookie.
Fucking oath.
But look at what he's
He's
achieved.
a fucking leader, bro. Like,
Whether Trump can do the same thing or not, I don't know.
no, he's not the same.
But-
I think Trump thinks he's a Putin, and you're like, bruh,
But then
you're
the-
not. But
then you look at those two and you know which one's the weirdo out of those two. But then you throw Australia in the mix and go, really?
yeah, Kevin Rudd.
This I have respect for any man that will run this country and openly come out and be like, yeah, all right, that was me at the strippers.
I got no idea what I was doing.
No idea, but we had a good night at the strippers.
Right.
I go, you know what? You are fit to run
You're
this
my
country.
Yeah. Oh,
But-
fuck.
It's an odd time
It is.
to be living.
It's
Like you said,
super
like
odd.
it's sort of that pendulum swing of how it's going to go. And there's always that degree, like that's just me being a dad. I always have that panic fear of my kid.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's fair.
What sort of world they're going to be living in. But ultimately, I'd like to think that it would be one where things like mental health and just respect in general.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my grandpa used to say to us all the time, it's like treat, and I see it on the internet in fucking those motivational pictures that go around, like treat everyone the same, be it the janitor or the CEO.
Yeah.
If we could get back to that, and I think we'd be doing all right.
Yeah. It's a fucking weird time. I want it because it's what date is it today? The 1st of July. I want this caught on camera that I was the first one with this epiphany idea.
Oh no!
So
I'm going to hold you to this, man.
this the whole gender fucking spectrum of genders,
sort of?
sexes.
I'm
So
going to go sort
it's
of.
not male and female. It's male, female. Fucking
There's gender fluidity. And
there's multiple genders.
I heard another one the other day that's like only brand new to me, and I can't
So
think of what it
there's
was.
73 genders.
Asexual or something.
Yeah. So like 70 plus. I don't know.
Fucking amoeba. Like,
Infinite amount. So my theory on this
yeah.
is it's not the fringes of society pushing this. My view is it's actually CEOs pushing your Rothschilds, Rockefellers who are pushing this.
So we get like
Due to
a touch of tinfoil hat here.
fuck yeah, this is my
Nice.
full tinfoil hat. But hear me out. So it is illegal to be sexist in a workplace.
Yeah.
You cannot be sexist. You can't employ a man over a woman. It's a law. You can't do it.
Yeah.
People, it might, but it's a law. It can't happen. My tinfoil hat idea is if your business
away.
does not recognize gender, it is impossible to be sexist. So imagine, okay, I own Apple, and I go, okay, Apple is genderless. We have no genders. Everyone is non-binary. We don't have gender. And then I employ 100% males in the field in the shop, and people go, well, you've broken a law because
I'll pay that one.
You haven't done it.
I'll give you that one.
And they go, we don't recognise gender. Therefore, if you don't recognise, you can't. That's like North Korea. So there's a journalist you can listen to on YouTube who went to North Korea for like 6 months, and he goes, "Oh, can you show us the like the prisons they used to hold them in? What did the Nazis put the Jewish in?
The concentration
Camps." And he went to this guy, "Can you show us concentration camps?" And they go, "We don't have a word for that. They don't exist."
They just,
and if they don't have a word for it, then it can't exist.
Yeah.
And that's my tinfoil hat for the day is if you don't have gender, you can't be sexist.
Yeah, no, I'm going to maintain that. I'm going to hold that, man.
But I just want to. I'm the first one. So if the Rockefellers come out, anyone who knows the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, they're pretty much around the world.
Lunchtime discussion at my workplace just got a whole lot more interesting.
Bring it up. See what the boys think.
I'll drop that banger at the
Because
lunch table.
that's what they can do. Is they can just be like, well, I'm just employing men, or I'm just employing women, or I'm just employing anything.
I love any of those conspiracies.
Is there any weird ones you're into?
Any what, sir?
Any weird ones? Like any mainstream ones?
Then,
like are you a moon landing conspiracist?
I reckon that's completely plausible.
As they did.
But I've got no way to prove it. Until, what's his name? Carl Pilkington? Ricky Gervais is offside.
Yeah.
It's, he said about the moon landing. He's like, how do we know? It's not like I've been there to check.
Yeah.
I'm like, valid argument.
Yeah. There's a thing about the moon landing was hoaxed, but Neil Armstrong and Buzz were like super big on it being done. So
have you seen
it had to be filmed on location.
Have you seen the guy chases him around with the Bible?
No.
And he's on YouTube of this guy that basically harasses the shit out of the whole moon landing team.
Jesus Christ.
And follows around, just shows up in random places. If it happened, put your hand on the Bible, swear it.
Yeah.
And they won't do it. So he's convinced that it didn't happen.
Buzz punched a dude in the face for that.
It was probably him.
It's probably him. No, I that's the one I just don't get. I'm like, no, we did.
I'd give a degree of plausibility to those.
Yeah.
I'll sit back when it comes to like New World Order and Illuminatis and Rothschilds and secular families controlling everything. I sit back and go like,
right. Yeah. There's a online YouTube series called Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Have you seen the one on the Rothschilds?
Yeah.
Ruined my life.
Yeah.
For like a good
watch
6
that
months.
shit, man.
I'm like,
you're done.
Nah, fuck this.
If you're ready for a brain explode, that's a great way to
killed me, man.
I laugh at all that stuff. But between all the powerful families and ironically enough, there's a guy at my work who's like full turbo into conspiracies.
Yeah.
And I was happy to have a chat to him. And he sits back and the Illuminati and the Freemasons, they rule the world. I'm like, oh, okay, like we'll chat. And then it started getting into like lizard people.
Oh Jesus!
And all this
it got real weird.
Great conversation.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it took this real sharp left turn that completely caught me off guard. And I'm like, look at that! I have to go now.
The Earth is flat.
And he turned into one of those dudes. He's like, oh no, lizard people, and there's like a race of aliens that live Zions away, and when you start using the word Zion in like
Scientology
space
or some shit,
I'm like.
Bye.
There's a reason you're in the field you're in is because you're fucking weird.
Yeah.
Nice as pie dude, but at the same time, I have to wonder, bro. But at the same time, I sit back and I'm like, you know what? If that's what he's into,
that's what you do, you man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, don't be coming out here trying to rip my head off thinking I'm a lizard people or something. But I'm all for a good conspiracy.
Oh yeah, fucking A. Some good ones.
Illuminatis and.
Yeah, fucking. So I think we might actually really think about finishing up there, unless there's anything that's burning on you that you want to jump into. Is there anything we've missed?
Not really, man. I find it amusing that it takes all these years, and like I was saying to you before, I've had my own platform to an extent.
Yeah.
In a very different community, to have that voice. And it takes me coming down here to hang out with you to be able to tell that story from the get-go. And like I said, I think there's one other person in the world that has heard that story.
Jesus.
Heard my story, that story.
Yeah.
And that's my wife. So to be able to come down here and share that, thanks, man.
Oh, mate, fucking, honestly, I'm fucking stoked to be part of it.
It's a real sort of feeling right now.
What I'm trying to do. No, I'm glad,
and
I'm a
bit
tingly
the purpose
as well.
exactly, but at the same time, I sit back, I'm like, and it's the theory that I have on most things. If I can change even just one person's outlook on it, or have one person just go, oh, fuck, I'm not the only one, or, same, but different, job's done.
Yeah.
All you got to do is change it for one person, and it's a job well done.
Fucking hate, man. Yeah, well, you've done really well. It's been a great podcast, man.
I can hope so.
So
the views will tell.
The views will tell, yeah. So especially for everyone in the live chat, thanks for joining in.
Not too easy.
And then a special thank you to the SA Brothers.
Fucking nuts.
Because they're a big supporter of this.
Oh,
It'll be
totally.
up on their page, I'm guessing. So if you've reached this point and you're an SA brother, just drop Willy's a fuckhead or something in the chat. There'll be all these points you're Willy's fuckhead. I'm like, yeah, the boys, we're all here.
Yeah, that's just classy gentlemen. Classy,
yeah,
you can always tell when they're around.
I love the boys. So as always, this is episode number 11. There's 10 before this. Go check them out. Even if you don't relate purely to this one, you probably will find one or find one coming up that you might relate to better.
You might not relate to the whole story, but I guarantee you there'll be at least one pearl of wisdom. If not one of them, in all of them.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one passing comment.
Yeah.
100%.
Fucking A. So, Leeroy, thank you very much, man. these wouldn't be possible without, you know, guests coming on and the support from everyone watching this being part of it. So
I'll have to get that little SA Brothers emote going again.
yeah, fucking A.
That's how you know they're
Fucking
around.
A. So thanks, man.
No,
Cheers, bro.
appreciate it, man.